Thank you for joining us today. I'm Paul Baumann, and I'm honored to serve as the president of the Rotary Club of Tulsa this year. It's a great day, and it's also a great day to be a Rotarian. Earlier in this Rotary year, I wrote a short post speaking about how honored I am to be part of our club. One person who commented on this post said that Rotary is an amazing organization that does amazing things. I wasn't surprised to hear that Rotary does amazing things, as I know that and see that being part of our club firsthand. What did take me back at the time and still stays with me even today is that someone outside of Rotary realizes that we are making a difference. And that realization and reaffirmation made me feel good inside. And it makes me feel proud to be associated with such a group of individuals who are coming together and not just talking about making a difference, but actually following through and doing it. And not just making a small bit of difference, which I'll never discount in its own right, but making a difference on a scale that the whole world has taken notice. And speaking of making a difference, you'll hear more about this in the coming weeks, but World Water Day will be observed on March 22nd. This day is to advocate for sustainable management of freshwater resources. I've been to other countries where I've seen firsthand children washing and playing in open troughs that ran along the side of the streets. They were actually merely just open sewers. I've seen up close the need for and importance of projects like our own club's Water Well project in order to help provide clean water for daily living and to make it more easily accessible. Another project of our extraordinary club that helps others outside of the Rotary world realize what each of us already know, and that is Rotary truly does amazing things. Now, please help me welcome our Rotarian of the Day, past President John O'Connor. John?
Yeah, I'm very excited today. We've got a great program. We've got two young ladies who love connecting consumers and farmers to promote local healthy foods. So it really ties into a lot of our other programs and programs of Rotary International. But let me start with Chris Hutto. She is beginning her 6th season with the Tulsa Farmers Market, currently serves as executive director. It's a 501c3 organization. Her love of the natural world and passion for sustainable practices and healthy, fresh foods has driven her to work in the local food scene in Tulsa. Chris is originally from Southern California, but her native heritage brought her back to Oklahoma to be closer to her tribe and family. Over the last 15 years, she has spent time throughout the western half of the United States in her study and exploration of organic farms, cooperative communities, and natural living. She holds several certificates in herbalism, and integrative health. She also has over 15 years in management and is an ambitious gardener. She is the mother of 2 toddlers. Her roots now are deeper in green country. Her work with the Tulsa Farmers Market allows her to support and uplift small-scale family farms, protect soil and water health, promote wellness throughout the community, and connect all Oklahomans through fresh local foods. Her also on the program is a young lady with whom I'm somewhat familiar, Kristen O'Connor Shelby. She will be joining Chris Hutto on the program today. She's a Tulsa girl, having attended Montecasino and Bishop Kelly. She graduated from Oklahoma State University with a degree in international business. After she graduated, she and her husband, Bill Shelby, a farm boy from Webbers Falls, whom they met at Oklahoma State, they promptly moved to Sydney, Australia through a Rotary Ambassadorial Scholarship. There, Bill obtained a master's degree in commerce and entrepreneurship from the University of Sydney. So their Rotary roots go way back. During their year overseas, Kristen realized that Bill's dreams to farm were closer to reality than she had previously realized. And they returned home to the family farm for Bill to focus on bringing Oklahoma-grown produce to regional grocery stores. I know some of this obviously personally. I went down and saw their farm one time. That summer they were growing about 10,000 watermelons. And if any of you have been to the farmer's market, you know that the Shelby Ross corn and cantaloupe and watermelons and pumpkins are the best that you can find anywhere. That's a little local shameless plug. So let's see, Kristen previously worked for IBM and now stays at home with their 3 children, Eli, Kate, and Claire, who have essentially grown up at the Cherry Street Farmers Market, where Kristen has sold their products since 2007. She has been featured on Channel 6 on their noon show and the food segment 5 times, and in Edible Tulsa, a magazine, as an advocate for Oklahoma grown produce. Let's welcome our 2 speakers, Chris Hutto and Kristen Shelby. That's all applause. Yeah, we can all. Chris, are you ready?
I sure am. Hello, and thank you all so much for the invitation to talk about our market a bit today. The Tulsa Farmers Market, formerly known as the Cherry Street Farmers Market, is actually the largest farmers market in the state of Oklahoma. We have over 75 farmers, ranchers, producers, chefs, and artisans within our membership group. And we're also the longest running farmers market in the state of Oklahoma as well. We began in 1998 as a very tiny little market in the Lincoln Plaza there on 15th Street. We existed there through 2009 when we expanded on to 15th Street, which is Cherry Street there. Ever since then, we had stayed there for many, many years. And now just last year, we had relocated to the Kendall Whittier neighborhood. And we will be beginning our 24th season on April 3rd. We do plan on staying in Kendall Whittier for the foreseeable future. We had a fantastic year last year, and we are we love being in the area with so many locally owned businesses. It makes us feel right at home, really. In 2004, we expanded to a midweek market, so we are happy to bring fresh produce and other goods every Wednesday morning, May through September, also in Whittier Square. And we went year-round with our winter market in 2012. So essentially, we're also the only year-round market in the state of Oklahoma as well. Another thing that makes us unique at our market is that we are an Oklahoma grown market certified through the Department of Agriculture. This means that the people selling at the market are the people that raise the product here in Oklahoma. We do not allow any buying or reselling through our market. And so this really promotes a trust between our customers and their farmers, but also it makes sure that we're being true to our roots of being a farmer's market and maintain that integrity there. So while we exist first and foremost to give our farmers a marketplace for those direct-to-consumer sales, which is incredibly important, we also, as a 501c3, are very focused on our community outreach efforts. Those include food access, food security, environmental sustainability, nutrition, education, as well as wellness in the community. One of the ways that we are able to address food access and food security is by accepting SNAP benefits at our market. We were the first market in the state to accept SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps. And we've been accepting those since 2009. To kind of give you a point of reference, the first year that we accepted SNAP, just over $3,000 was redeemed with us. And then last year it was over $20,000. So it has greatly grown. In 2012, we were able to provide a similar program, an incentive program to run with our SNAP. And that is called Double Up Oklahoma. And that essentially is a healthy eating incentive program for SNAP users. And when they come to redeem their SNAP benefits with us, they get a match to that for a dollar-to-dollar match. And it is up to $20 per market day. So they can actually use that at our Wednesday market as well. So that's 2 opportunities a week. And those funds can be used to purchase fresh fruits and vegetables. We've seen a wonderful response from this program. Many are reporting an increase in vegetable consumption and seeing a lot of positive health outcomes as well. But to make sure that, most SNAP dollars in America are actually either redeemed at grocery stores or gas stations or Walmarts. And so we're trying to make sure that those people know that they can utilize them at a farmer's market and that there's going to be a lot of nutritious, healthy food for them available. So we're very grateful to be able to provide that, especially with COVID. We saw a large uptick in SNAP users at our market. And in fact, the state had issued out a PEBT card to all students who were receiving free or reduced lunches. So it was wonderful to see children being engaged at the market and to be able to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables as well. Another way that we're addressing food access is through transportation. Roughly 30% of Tulsans do not have adequate transportation or reliable vehicle to use. And so in 2016, we kind of did some research into the area of finding some zip codes with the highest need, those that were living without transportation, as well as being low income and possibly receiving SNAP benefits. So we have been able to partner with Morton Comprehensive Services, All Souls Unitarian, and a few others to provide transportation. We physically go to different community centers. We have a long-standing relationship with the community center in Turley. We go pick up the folks and bring them to the market, and we even provide them a stipend so that they can enjoy all of the fresh offerings that we have. Of course, if they do have SNAP, they can take advantage of that program and our double up as well. But this makes our market feel a little bit more inclusive and welcoming to anyone, regardless of their economic background. We're hoping that this program expands. Last October, we were able to have a pilot program with Tulsa Transit, where we had a bus route that ran every 15 minutes going north of the market up to Turley and back every 15 minutes for free. And so we're very, very hopeful that this is something that we will be able to continue and maybe expand for years to come. A few of the other programs that we work with, we're very open and welcoming of all of our community partners to come to the market to interact with our customers face-to-face. The market offers a free booth space to any nonprofit for them to come and connect. We're very excited that this year, we're going to have that once again. We did take a small hiatus last year, just due to COVID and different safety precautions. We were trying to limit the amount of interaction at the market, but it will return this year. And we also will be hosting a DIY hands-on activity every Saturday at 10 as well. So people will be able to come to the market and interact with different community partners, Sustainable Tulsa, and we have Global Gardens and so many different partners that are going to be able to be present with us at market to help further their missions and all under the name of local food and community. It's been very exciting for us. But we just work to focus on the whys, why to support local. We're always trying to get this messaging across of why it is so important, especially in the global economy that we now all live in. There are many reasons to support local. One of those is health. It really, the communities that have farmers market report better health outcomes. They generally live in more walkable communities, get more daily exercise. And frankly speaking, the produce that is at the farmers market is more nutrient dense than foods that are available at a grocery store. Once a food is harvested, the density of its nutrients begins to deplete as time passes. So consuming fresh food ensures that you're getting the most nutritious product available to you. And of course, there is a huge economic or environmental impact, with supporting local. We know that our farmers being local, the food on average travels 50 miles or less to get to you, whereas food items at a grocery store on average travel 1,500 miles. So obviously the carbon footprint of that food is significantly higher than what we have at the farmer's market. It also, having a farmer's market and putting, stock into supporting these local farms is that it preserves rural farmland and preserves the rural livelihoods that surround and support those farms. We are losing roughly 1 acre of land to development every minute, which is pretty huge. And so making sure that you're supporting these small farms is keeping that land in production, which protects it long term, of course. And the local economy, obviously, is hugely impacted. When you support local, you're keeping your dollars local. Then our farmer themselves, they are 3 times more likely to keep their revenue local as well than a non-local business. And a local grower also creates roughly 13 full-time jobs per $1 million of revenue versus $3 for a non-local. So there's a lot of economic reasons to support your local farmers market. But most obviously, it's to support small scale family farms, which is something that is decreasing every year. We're seeing, we're losing a lot of farmers. They're aging out. And also it's a really hard business to be in. You don't get any days off there. There's no health, you can't call out when you're sick and things like that. So it's something that's been going down. And why we need these small scale farmers is that they really are ensuring diversity of product. When we go to large scale farms, they usually are monocropping and they're doing, large crops that are, usually, soybean and things like that. So if you're looking to have that small diversity and variety in your local food, preserving heirloom seeds and different things like that, supporting local is a great first step in doing that. We know that over 70% of our producers rely on our farmers market 100% for their income. And so we need to make sure that we stay alive and thriving so that they can continue to do that good work for us as well. We know that since we are losing farmers and we want to be around for another 25 years, that we need to do a little bit of work to grow the next generation of farmers. So something that the farmers market, the Tulsa Farmers Market is doing right now is we're now partnering with Green Country Permaculture. This is a local business that does landscaping work and different regenerative farming, but they offer a 9-week farm to market course. Essentially, they will teach you the ins and outs, the basics of farming. And what is beautiful about that is that they also have different plots of land that are available for their graduates. So they can provide them with 1/3 of an acre or 1/4 of an acre so that they can kind of have a trial season to kind of under the guidance of their leader to make sure that this is a career path that they're interested in, to make sure that it's something that they think that they can do before they invest long-term in it. The farmers market will be taking these graduates and actually placing them with pre-existing farmers to kind of give them that hands-on experience with them and also develop some relationships with some generational farmers and really grow from there. We'll also be having the Green Country Permaculture will host a booth at the market, and their participants will go through that. They will filter through their taking turns, essentially being a vendor at the market to see if it's something that, again, making sure it's something that they feel confident investing long-term doing. So we're very excited to see where this program is going to go for us. We definitely want to continue to do that. We've been reaching out and doing some work with FFAs as well as OU Extension. And we definitely want to make sure that people understand that farming is a viable career path. And it's something that is it's not only viable, but it's profitable and it is very, very rewarding. So we want to keep this traditional career alive and keep it all centered at the farmers market here for all Tulsans to enjoy. I would love to hear Kristen's perspective, being a vendor with us, what the market has meant to her and kind of what that, how the market helps them in their farming practices.
Well, thank you, Chris. I loved all that information. I was making notes myself as you were talking. It's super impressive to hear what you guys are doing. And we're so thankful for the board of directors and the whole market structure just for the work that you guys do. So I was laughing as my dad was introducing me and referencing my little tongue-in-cheek statements. But when Bill and I got married, I thought he was going to be a banker. And I was majoring in international business and really had big plans to go see the world. And thankfully, it was through my dad's involvement with Rotary. He ended up applying for a Rotary Ambassadorial Scholarship, nailed his interview, which is another funny story because I tanked mine. He nailed it. We ended up going to Sydney. While we were in Australia, I was working for a small business from a Rotarian over there. We started taking these little trips and he was doing some research. What I found out was the reason we were going to Brisbane is because he wanted to see how they grew cantaloupes there. And when we went to Melbourne, he wanted to see how they grew sweet corn there. And he had all this research that he was doing that was centered around produce, and which, much to my mom's chagrin, she knew better than I did, but I just had no idea. And it was nearing the end of our stay there that I realized, oh my gosh, I married a farmer. And so his dad had called and said, Research has approached us to do all their local produce, but I can't do it unless you guys come back. So we came back in 2007 and jumped in like 2 feet, ready to go to do produce full time. I had no idea what I was doing. But fortunately, Bill and his family did. They come from a rich legacy of farming background. The farm actually began in 1902, pre-statehood, when the land was allotted to Bill's great-grandfather's name was Andrew Ross. He was given 40 acres through a Cherokee Nation land allotment while he was still in his mother's womb. So they've been farming since pre-statehood. Bill is the 4th generation farmer growing watermelons now. And when we had his granddad at the corn farm last summer, he said, as far as he can remember, he thinks that they started growing sweet corn in 1969. So they have been doing this for a very long time. And it's been fun for me to get to learn how to be a farmer's wife, but also to join that rich legacy, just the passion that they have for produce and getting fresh produce out to market has been really neat. So let's see here. We grow right now. This kind of varies year to year, but one year we had 100 acres of watermelons, like Dad said, and we were literally selling 100,000 watermelons, which all have to be touched and then touched and then touched. So that's just a lot of, when you think about it, they're not widgets going in boxes. It's like big watermelons being picked up and carried and all that. This year we're growing 100 acres of sweet corn and 50 acres of watermelons, and then 15 acres of pumpkins. And within that, we have 15 varieties of pumpkins. So we start ordering seed in December, try to get a game plan for what all we're going to produce. Year to year, we try a couple of different variations of corn seed just to make sure that the ones that we're growing and throwing most of our weight behind is the best variety for us to grow. So in December, we do all of that. Right now, we're cultivating ground, making sure that it's ready to plant. Depending on the weather, we can plant a little bit earlier in March. A lot of times we try to wait to a little bit near the end of the month just to avoid any of those last minute freezes. But we'll start planting corn in the next 2 weeks probably, and then plant watermelons and cantaloupes in April. And then we'll plant pumpkins in June. We start harvesting corn in June, and then we'll start harvesting watermelons and cantaloupes in July, August, and then pumpkins in September. So there's a lot of planning that goes into it. Bill, it's a shame he can't be there with us today, but Bill is kind of like farmers are scientists. He has to calculate heat units every day. He has to measure the temperature, the high and the low temperature, which is how he figures. I don't know how he does it. I don't know the equation, but every day he's keeping track of all these things so he can calculate heat units so that he can track the maturity of the corn. So that, like Chris said, we harvest in the evening and sell it the next morning. But we want to ensure that we're taking it to market when it's at its peak ripeness, still fresh, not overripe, not underripe. I mean, there's like a 2-day window, don't miss it, you know? So we try to get ours lined up to where it's every other night harvesting. A lot of times in sweet corn season, we are harvesting every night. And so we typically will start 6 or 7 p.m. They have a 3-row picker. I mean, back when we first started, we were using a pitchfork and a trailer to load truck beds. So now we have a system worked out, and he's gotten all kind of savvy with some conveyor belts where we can try to clear out leaves and stems and the extra stuff that sometimes the picker will get. So we start at 7 p.m. A lot of times in corn season, we'll have as many as 45 peddlers, street side vendors that will come and buy wholesale from us. That typically, depending on how much corn we're getting through that night, Bill will go count rows, figure out how much corn he has available to harvest that night, how kind of try to get an estimate of how long it'll take and how many vendors he can come to sell. Most of them want to come as often as you'll let them. So you have to kind of create a system of, this is who gets it tonight. A lot of times we'll wrap up around 2 a.m. So on Friday nights, when we come to the market on Saturday, we're leaving at 4:30 in the morning with our 3 kids after having gotten to bed at 1:30 or 2. So it's like an adrenaline moment where you literally are riding on fumes. But the market is one of the absolute highlights of our summer, and I would say that's true for my children too. They love it. They get dressed the night before, and when you go in at 4:15 to wake them up, they sit up ready to go, and they are ready to go to the farmers market. They just love it so much. What's neat is considering the community element, like Chris was talking about, big picture, but also like small picture for us personally. And I know Ed's probably on here. Ed and Jimmy, families that we get to interact with week to week and who have grown up or have come along us as I've been pregnant or had babies, or pregnant or had babies. And so now they can see, oh my gosh, look how, there's Ed, he just joined. Look how Eli, a lot of my customers remember when I was pregnant with him, and now he'll be 11 in a couple of weeks. It's just really, really precious to get to grow produce, thinking of those people, and excited to get it in their hands. So for us, the opportunity to sell retail is significant in terms of our income that we bring in. That's our only chance. This last summer, Kate, my now 9-year-old, and I went to Broken Arrow Market to kind of fill in for my brother-in-law while he was out of town. So that was even sweet to try to get to learn some new faces and get excited and share produce with some of the customers out there too. But there are so many examples of really just the sweetness of getting to live life and share our excitement for what we do and get it to people that are excited about what we do. And last year, actually, I had a moment where a woman said, she's on the local food scene. She's a chef. She's incredible. And she called me a farmer. And I had a moment where it was like, am I a farmer? And so I'm trying to, because anyway, if you get to talk to me, I still feel like there's so much for me to learn. But honestly, this is one of the key passions of our family. And so I think I'm raising a farmer. I'm married to a farmer. I throw a lot of my time and energy into the farm. So I'm going to start calling myself a farmer, I've decided. So anyway, I'm trying to think of what else. So one of the things I will say, one of the things that we really love is the significance of knowing that our friends are eating our produce. And so not that we wouldn't do it this way anyway, but it does impact our choices that we make in terms of growing. So we're, responsible in the seed that we choose, our practices that we use. We cared that that we're doing things the best way that we possibly could for our friends and family who are eating our produce. So anyway, it's a joy to get to do it. Thank you for all of you guys that come out to the market. And I hope if you haven't been before, that this will whet your appetite and get you curious and make you want to come out and see what it's like. I'm always wearing an apron. I don't normally look like this, but but most of the vendors are, one of the best things is that the vendors that you see are the people that grew or created or made the products that they're selling. And so you can come ask questions. How did you do this? What was your glaze technique on this pottery? What was your, people come ask, I defer to Bill. People come ask Bill questions all the time about their garden, and he can tell them, how do you know how to pick the ripe watermelon and all of those things. So if you're curious at all about any of that stuff, please come. Please come.
Yeah, I would love to just jump in and just on that note, it is a really wonderful thing to watch the conversations and the relationships that can develop between the producer and the consumer. Like Kristen was saying, you can come and ask them how they do it. And what's really great is that a producer, can get direct feedback. If a customer doesn't like something, they'll tell you. And then you even develop where they may request a different variety or something like that. And so the demand, you have direct feedback of your product. If you were selling wholesale or off to a third party, you would never know how your product's being received by the consumer in the way that you really can at the farmer's market. And likewise, when you spend that dollar with that farmer, they get 100% of that dollar. Whereas again, at any third chain or third party, or even like the peddlers that Kristen says comes and gets her corn, they're not getting, Kristen doesn't see all of the revenue from that corn. She's only seeing a small amount. So it's very important to buy directly from those producers as much as possible. And I do hope that you all, if you haven't been to the market, make it out this year. We're planning a lot of fun stuff. A few other things just to mention: we'll have yoga first and third Saturdays at the outside right there at the market, and plenty of workshops and live music. So it really is the heart of the community. That's how we view it. And we hope that you come participate with us.
Great. So President Baumann, do we have time for question and answers?
Yes, we do. If you don't mind fielding them, that'd be great.
Great. So I'll start one. Kristen, Shelby, have you all ever experienced a drought or a flood?
Well, most of you are probably familiar with the flood from 2 summers ago in Weber's Falls that was catastrophic to all of that farmland down there. Yes, that is one of the things that as a farmer, you try to do your best to plan around, but also just know that that's likely to happen. Some of your crops are going to take hits. Try as best as you might. You can't weed out weather as an interference. So yes, that. Fortunately, our land was not long-term destroyed by that. A lot of farmers are having to really work on their land and ground to get sand out and really try to improve the soil conditions there. But yes, that was our reality. We lost half of the corn and all of the watermelons and cantaloupes that year, but all the livestock was okay. So we were extra thankful for last summer with no catastrophes.
And Chris Hutto, a question: do you all have room for more farmers, or are you full? And how many staff does the farmers market sustain?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we were on Cherry Street, we were full. We didn't have any more space for people, and we were turning some away as much as it pained us to do so. Now that we're in Kendall Whittier, we have more than enough space, enough that we're doing yoga out there. So we're actively seeking more farmers, and we accept applications year round. We review them quarterly or as on a as needed basis. But yes, we're actively seeking out new farmers. If anybody knows anybody, send them our way. We even will, we're very welcoming of backyard enthusiasts as well. So you don't have to be doing 100 acres of watermelons to join our market. You could be, have a quarter of an acre in your backyard, and we could find a place for you too. I'm sorry?
And Chris, you no longer have a site at the Cherry Street, right? It's all over on First and Lewis. Is that right? Or Third and Lewis?
Yes, we're on Admiral and South Lewis as of last year. All of our markets, so our Saturday market, our Wednesday market, and our winter market is there. We really enjoyed our time on Cherry Street. We kind of like to think that we helped that area grow. 25 years ago, it was mostly locally owned small businesses. And you probably have noticed if you live in Tulsa, it has greatly grown and it has a lot of chains and different things. And so when construction took place there, we had to find a spot. We selected Kendall Whittier because it is a historic district and it is just full of locally owned businesses. Circle Cinema, there's not a single chain on the block. And so they have been very welcoming to us. So we just decided we're just going to stay here. It's been great so far.
You talked about SNAP benefits, the 2-for-1, which is a great deal. And then is there also a senior program?
You betcha. Yeah. So we accept all forms of payments of method that we accept are debit, credit, SNAP, and then we have the double up program, the healthy eating incentive for that SNAP program. And then we do have a low income senior program called the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. Essentially, low income seniors get a debit card to redeem at the farmers market. And those funds can only be used for fresh fruits and vegetables. And so it's a really good healthy eating incentive for them as well. And we've been running that program now since 2014. So it's really that program probably sustains our midweek market. So if people feel a little overwhelmed by the size of a Saturday market, you might really enjoy our Wednesday market. It's significantly smaller. We have, 15 vendors as opposed to 55 vendors and a lot less people. So if you are handicapped or you're just not interested in walking all that much, like many senior citizens, that you may find value in that market more.
Go ahead.
I think I missed the question I didn't answer on our market staff. So we have 14 members on our board, and a third of those are vendors with our membership. And then for staff specifically, we have only 2 full-time staff members. I am one of them. But then we also have three additional employees that we have at market when we're in the height of the season.
Great. Do any of your farmers use aquaponic techniques, to your knowledge?
Actually, we've had a few that have applied. At the moment, we do not have one, but we're definitely open to that. For the most part, the customer demand, like kind of how I mentioned that being direct to the consumer, you get a lot of that feedback. A lot of our customers really, when it came to things like microgreens and lettuces, they actually prefer them grown in soil because there's going to be a higher mineral content to them. So there's kind of been more of a focus on traditional in soil growing. But as I mentioned, we would certainly welcome anyone doing aquaponics.
Great. And Kristen, Shelby, one question from our group is, how do you harvest watermelons?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, we have a seasonal crew that comes through. What they do is they go through and inspect for some mature looking watermelons. They go through and they do a couple of things to check and make sure. One is checking the belly of the watermelon, is for looking for discoloration, some brown spots, some webbing that we see, and then checking a little tendril. Off the main stem, there's a tendril that'll be brown. And so when they see those 2 things, that means it's ripe and ready to go. They'll snip it, pile them up. They kind of pile them up in the walkway. And then they, after they've gone through that little pass of the field, then they'll take them all up to the trailer. So it's a very, very hands-on process. We are not that high tech with machines that you can load them onto the conveyor belt as they go along. They are literally carrying them to the trailer. And then as they get to the trailer, then they're loaded back to, or taken back to the barn where they're then unloaded into another trailer or for a vendor. And so they're touched several times and counted and patted. And, you know, if you've done the little, you've knocked on it or patted the watermelon to make sure that it's whacked on a few times before it gets in the trailer. So by the time it gets with us to the market, we're 99.9% sure this is a great watermelon that's ready to go.
Great. President Ballman, back to you.
Thank you very much. Chris and Kristen, on behalf of everyone here, thank you for joining us today. You know, I've always enjoyed my time at the farmers market, and I appreciate learning more about it today. So thank you again.
And Paul, I tell you what, I hear people talking about farmers markets. I'll just make 2 quick notes. We're on a Zoom call and you can't see people real clear, but could you see how proud John O'Connor is of his daughter, Kristen? That came across through the Zoom call. That's something that's awesome to see. Second observation I'll make, President Paul, is I grew up on a dairy farm. I don't know if you know what that means or not, but that means moving a lot of cow manure. The only good thing about moving a lot of cow manure is it made law school a whole lot easier later on. Ken Bruni can probably affirm that for us. I know he's on the call. But we're going to play another round. This may be our last round of Who Wants to Be a Rotarian Heir, President Paul. So you'll have to help us with this just a little bit. Our first slide is coming up here. And see if we got a question. You've done good. So first question, President Paul, is about President-elect Jerry Barrientos. Jerry Barrientos has got an undergraduate degree. And can you guess what that undergraduate degree is in? Is it business administration, underwater basket weaving, which is a specialty, management information systems and accounting, or finance? President Paul, what do you think?
Underwater basket weaving sounds interesting. Have you done some of that before, Carl?
That's what I spend most of my time doing, actually, sir. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome. I'll go with C, though, management information systems and accounting.
Well, and that's why you're the president, President Paul. That is exactly right. Management information systems and accounting is the degree that she received, and she contributed. Oh, do you see that number, President Paul? That's $800. You know what that's from? That's from her inspired idea to have Rotarians call other Rotarians to see how they're doing. And so she raised a nice chunk of change for the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation. Thank you, President-elect Jerry, for doing that. What a great idea. I got to see all of those folks who made those calls. And some of you experienced Barney James' ingenuity. We'll call it ingenuity, because Barney got his auto caller going and tagged everybody, but he made a deal. He gave Jerry a bulk discount on that so that she didn't have to pay $8,000 instead of just $800. Barney, thank you for being merciful to our president-elect. And thank you, Jerry. So our next question, President Paul, when is Mike Homan's, well, I got to rephrase that, President Paul, I'm sorry. So when is Mike Homan's birthday? Is it March the 3rd? Is it, what's that? The 14th month of the 14th year. I don't know if I understand that, President Paul. And then he's got, is he December 12th or November 11th? Can you give me any insight on that option B, President Paul?
No, the option B, I mean, sometimes it does feel like years drag on. Like last year felt like maybe we had a 14-month in it, but that doesn't make sense. So I'm going to go with 11/11, option D.
Well, once again, this shows why you are the president. Somebody said to me the other day, Carl, it feels like we're in the 15th month of 2020. It just keeps stretching on. And you can see here that Mike Homan did an extra nice gift for us. Do you see the person in the snow there, President Paul? That is a grandchild. It appears as though this is shameless promotion of a grandchild person. And I think I understand, because she's awful cute. And get this, her name is Emmy Snow. So appropriate, these pictures. Past President Mike, thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for your generous contribution to the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation. Let's see, what do we have now? Oh, you'll know this, President Paul, because I know that you've memorized all of the Rotary presidents and the Rotary Club of Tulsa since the inception of the club. So this will be easy for you. Phil Lakin was president of the Rotary Club of Tulsa in what year? A, 2011 to 2012, B, 1947 to 1948, C, 2010 to 2011, or D, 2001 to 2012.
Well, I know Phil, and I know he's kind of an old soul. So 47, 48 doesn't quite make sense, though. I know he's not that old. So I'll say A, 2011 and 2012, please.
Well, your memory exercises have paid off, President Paul. That's exactly right. You've gotten 3 in a row today. That makes you our most valuable player. Phil Lakin gave us $100 for his Rotary anniversary. We sure appreciate his participation. And I think, do we have another one, Bree, or is that about it? Oh, President Paul, there you go. You got a winner this time. And we do have a mystery Rotarian that made another $100 contribution. I'll say this quickly. Several folks committed fines earlier this week, but because we missed last week, we'll be covering those fines in the next Rotary meeting. So for those of you who paid fines, don't be upset. We will present those in the next Rotary meeting. Thank you, President Paul. Thank you to everyone who made a contribution, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Yes, thank you, Sarge, and thank you, Bree, for helping. Thank you, everybody who gave money. We appreciate it. I will try to call on Tana again. I know Tana is still on the line and trying to get her sound going. We'll see if she can speak to us now. Tana, can we hear you? Okay, we'll have to get Tana rescheduled for her inspirational moment. We can't hear her yet, so we'll get her back on the schedule in future weeks. I do want to say special thanks to our this week's sponsors, Terracon, Mike Homan, Paul Estel, John O'Connor, Tom Klimda, Daniel Catcham, Ameritrust, Harvey Rowe, One Gas, Robert Babcock, and Mr. Ed's Auction, Ed Bierheller. Wednesday, March 17th, next week, our speaker will be Chip McElroy, President and CEO of McElroy Manufacturing. So I hope you'll join us for that meeting. After our adjourn the meeting today, we will have breakout rooms for 10 minutes. So for those of you who want to stay on and visit with other Rotarians, feel free to do that. Thank you for joining us today. I do want to say congratulations to our own ORU men's basketball team for winning the Summit League tournament last night in a thrilling win over South Dakota State. And they were up 25 points at halftime, but they held on in tremendous fashion. And so congratulations to them. They're headed to the NCAA tournament. So best of luck to them. I hope each of you have a great day and a tremendous week. And with that, we are adjourned.